Guru Hargobind Ji is the sixth of the 10 Gurus in Sikh tradition who attained Guruhood following his revered father Guru Arjan Dev Ji at a very young age. Born in 1595 AD in Amritsar, Guru Hargobind Ji occupies a very special place in the history of the Sikhs because he gave a new direction to Sikhism and shaped an altogether different future of it. The historical accounts on his biography tell that Guru Arjan Dev Ji and Mata Ganga Ji did not have any child for a long time, and therefore they sought blessings from Baba Buddha Ji to get their wish fulfilled. The wish was granted, and this is how Guru Hargobind Ji was born. It is said that few days before his execution, Guru Arjan Dev Ji chose his son Hargobind as his successor and instructed him to start a military tradition in Sikhism to protect the Sikh people in particular and humanity in general, besides serving spirituality and teaching Sikh philosophy. Hence, from the very early age, he started studying religious texts and receiving training in archery and swordsmanship. He soon became a skilled swordsman, wrestler, and rider, and gained expertise in military warfare and martial arts. This training shaped his outlook and ideology in a very different manner, and after his father's execution by Jahangir, the Mughal emperor, he donned 2 swords from his waist and pronounced, "In the Guru's house, spiritual and mundane powers shall be combined. My rosary shall be the sword belt, and on my turban I shall wear the kalgi, the emblem of royalty." He was very unconventional and fearless. It is said that at the time of installation as the Guru, Hargobind Ji asked Baba Buddha Ji to discard the earlier tradition of donning Guru with the seli of Guru Nanak Ji, preferring instead to be adorned with a sword. Not only this, his preference to be adorned with 2 swords named Miri and Piri symbolically indicated the combined significance of temporal, that is worldly powers, and the spiritual powers. By doing so, he never intended to mix religion with power or politics, but to take up the cause of the exploited and the oppressed. It is a well-known fact that Sikhism has played a very important role in resolving the communal conflicts in India and establishing peace and harmony between Hindus and Muslims. Guru Nanak Dev and the 4 Gurus after him emphasized on peace, equality and freedom for all, but after the death of the 5th Guru Arjan Dev Ji, the need for a defensive military in Sikhism was felt. Foreign invasions and the establishment of Mughal Empire in India gave birth to new social challenges such as caste and communal differences, religious differences, superstitions, and the oppression of human by other human beings in various ways. In such a scenario, the 6th Sikh Guru Hargobind Ji advocated the power of worship and the power of sword to fight against undue atrocities, exploitations, and injustices. He was a man of extraordinary courage and ability. He is credited for his spearheading militarization of Sikhs, which had reasons of its own. Young Hargobind was hardly 11 years in age when his father was jailed, tortured, and killed. This filled his tender heart and mind with the realization that we should not refrain from raising voice and arms if justice is at stake. Waging war to harm someone is condemnable, but defensive military training is a must for all to enable them to fight against oppressors. He therefore introduced military training and martial arts and created a standing military force for the defense of the masses. According to the British official and historian J.D. Cunningham in his book titled History of the Sikhs, the genial disposition of the martial apostle led him to rejoice in the companionship of a camp, in the dangers of war, and in the excitements of the chase. In his religious leadership too, we see the convergence of power and spirituality as he emerged as both a spiritual teacher and a military ruler. Cunningham again writes in this regard, "The temper and the circumstances of Hargobind both prompted him to innovation. He had his father's death to move his feelings. Hargobind grasped a sword and marched with his devoted followers among the troops of the empire, or boldly led them to oppose and overcome provincial governors or personal enemies. To develop a warrior spirit in the Sikh community was part of his philosophy. Experiencing persecution from Mughal rulers, he mobilized an army and named it Sant Sipahi, that is, Saint Soldiers. His military was strong and huge, with different kinds of arms and war necessities. Hargobind Sahib Ji was, at first, a spiritual leader of great significance. His philosophy taught the people the art of maintaining a balance between miri, that is mundane life, and piri, that is spiritual life. He believed in informing people that it was their duty to fight for the cause of humanity. He thought of philosophy as a science and said that God is one and the world is an illusion, an appearance without a reality. Religious journey has always been considered important in Sikhism. Who doesn't know the great Udasis of Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Similarly, Guru Hargobind too travelled across the country. From Amritsar, he went to Lahore, where he came in contact with Kaula, who was the adopted Hindu daughter of Qazi Rustam Khan, a follower of Saint Miamir. On hearing her pain and plight, Guruji asked her to go to Amritsar and live a safe, pious life in devotion. She lived her life sacredly thereafter. In her memory and honor, Gurudwara Khalsa Sahib was built. Guruji also travelled to central India, where he later built Gurudwara Nanak Matha Sahib. He visited Gujarat and other places too and earned numerous devotees and followers. He went to Garhwal Hills, made rapid strides in Jammu and Kashmir, and also reached Nanak Matha in the east. During one such journeys, he met the Maratha saint Samarth Ramdas. Ramdas Ji was amazed to see a spiritual leader with military orientation. He once asked Guru Hargobind Ji, what sort of sadhu was he? Guruji replied, internally a hermit and externally a prince. Arms mean protection to the poor and destruction of the tyrant. Guru Nanak had not renounced the world but had renounced Maya. Besides spearheading militarization for the strengthening and consolidation of the Sikh community, Guruji's another major contribution was the establishment of the Akal Takht, that is, the supreme seat, or the God's throne, or the throne of the timeless, in front of the Harmandir Sahib in Amritsar. It represents the highest seat of earthly authority of the Khalsa, that is the collective body of the Sikhs today. The Takht was a formal court which emerged as a common space where Sikhs from all corners could share their grievances and seek answers related to their faith. The Sikh devotees also receive hukumnamas, that is orders, from their gurus at the Akhal Takht and seek directions for the outer world. Thus, this 12 feet raised platform was a seat of spiritual authority which served for an informal court of its own kind. It introduced an administrative structure in Sikhism and helped in the organization of the community, consolidation of the state, and is highly relevant as well as revered authority even today. As we know, the Mughal forces were domineering during the days of Guru Hargobind. The transformation of Sikh community and other religious communities was one of the major agendas of the Mughals. In such a scenario, Guruji revolted against it and suffered confinements too in jail. According to a historical record, he was once imprisoned at the Gwalior fort where 52 Rajput princes were already detained. Realizing the extraordinary abilities of Guru Hargobind Ji, Mughal Emperor Jahangir soon ordered his release. But he refused to leave the jail without other 52 princes confined there. Ultimately, all were released along with Guruji. After this incident, he became well known as Bandi Chhod, which means the liberator of the prisoners, among his followers. This day is commemorated even today every year as the Bandi Chhod Divas on the day of Sikh Deepavali. Guru Hargobind Ji was a true warrior, and he went on fighting throughout his life for the greater cause. He consolidated the Sikh community, built a fort to defend Ramdaspur, and fought battles against the Mughals at Rohila, Amritsar, and other places. Similarly, during the reign of Shah Jahan, relations became bitter once again as Shah Jahan was intolerant and tried to destroy the Sikh Bauli, which is holy step well, at Lahore. He also plundered the property of Guruji, which instantly triggered armed conflict. Guruji's army fought battles with Mughal armies of Shah Jahan at Amritsar in 1634. He also led his armies against the provincial Muslim governors and fought the Battle of Kartarpur and others. He is rightly called the Sache Padshah, meaning the true king. He not only taught his followers the lessons of wisdom and spirituality, but also the lessons of self-defense and duty in the protection of humanity, weak and the poor. He emphasized much on the militarization of the Sikhs, but never neglected the importance of preaching and communicating the Sikh faith. He developed the city Sri Hargobindpur and a preaching center in Kiratpur Sahib, which shows that he excelled in the matters of state administration too. His darbar was noted for its splendor, but he was a great lover of music too. While watching a peacock singing one day, he wished to make an instrument to mimic its sound, and thus created a new musical instrument called Taos. He devoted all his life to the service of humanity in his own distinct way. Towards the concluding years of his life, Guru Hargobind Ji passed on his guruship to the grandson Sri Har Rai Ji and left this world for heavenly abode in the mid of the 17th century. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji was a great being, an extraordinary man with divine lustre. Since centuries, his teachings and trainings have been guiding the Sikh community in particular and all of us in general. Today, we remember him with great humility and reverence.